I'm here with the boys of Spite to talk about a new record, New World Killer, out October 31st on Rice Records. First of all, thank you guys for taking the time to chat with me about the record. How you guys doing today? Excited about the album just a few weeks away?
Super
Every day
excited,
we
man.
get closer, bro. We got another song coming out next week, so I'm excited for people to get another taste of the album before we drop it. But man, this has been a long time coming, so we're really excited to finally get some new music out for everyone.
Let me start off by telling you guys this. I love what you guys did. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but if it wasn't on purpose, just go with it and say it was on purpose, so that way we're all like on the same vibe. I love what you guys did with the style of the sound in terms of the track listing, the order of the track listing of the record, and the overall lack of length. I'm going to call it lack of length of the album because I was expecting coming in, knowing your sound, I was expecting coming in into a very dense, robust, brutal record that at the end of it, I kind of need a shower. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just like I'm spent. You know what I mean?
Love that.
And this album, while still keeping the brutality of the band intact, you guys were able to create a few pockets here and there that allowed me to digest the album a lot better without necessarily feeling overrun by it. And I think the length plays a role in that, but also the choices that you guys did from a track listing standpoint kind of reminded me of a live set where you want to create the right ebbs and flows to keep the momentum going, but at the same time, you don't want to burn out people two songs in. You know what I'm saying? So, was that on purpose?
Damn, you're speaking exactly what I intended to do, like on the record. We're so adamant about like making songs flow together and being cohesive, but also having like an ebb and flow, just as you were saying, so the album doesn't feel like song to song or like single format per se.
Yeah, it keeps it from getting tired too. And like you say, I mean, we kind of talked about when making this record, we want it to sound like how we sound like live and how we would perform live and all those kinds of things. And I think that kind of played part in that. It does feel like you said, like it could be a live set. You could play that album front to back, and I think you'd get that whole roller coaster. You get a little bit of everything in there, and it doesn't feel tired.
And you guys are not afraid of throwing a few little caveats here and there, some groove elements. I thought the overall guitar sound on the record was excellent because while you guys kept this very thick chugging sound, which is very prototypical of the band and the genre, you guys added a bunch of other shit around it guitar wise that just gave the album so much more energy, so much more life. And that also took away from making the album feel very repetitive. That's my take.
That's awesome, dude. No, it's cool you said that. Like, I think the way we did that for guitar, especially, was like the chord choices and like figuring out how to sound heavy and like sinister without just like mashing around on chromatic, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's no problem with that. We have so much of that within Spite and all of our discography on this record too. But we just don't think that basing our whole record and like songs around those things is what is going to make our album good per se, or something we'd want to listen to.
Yeah, I think that we talk about this a lot. Spite is just we consider ourselves just a metal band, and our message will always just be angry, and it'll always be aggressive and pissed off. And I think there's like a lot of different ways in heavy metal to accomplish that. And I think that it was really fun, especially on this record, to explore all that and the things that influenced us growing up and all those kinds of metal bands. Um, I think it just kind of separates it and makes it stand the test of time a little longer when you do things just a little less modern and how everyone else is doing them right now.
You guys also did not skip on the bass sound. You definitely didn't go with an Injustice for All production on this record because I could hear the bass, which is really cool. Like, I really like it because I felt like the bass had a very cool duality throughout the album. On one hand, it creates a lot more groove, and on the other hand, it does give the record a little bit of this underlying darkness. It makes the songs slightly darker. And I think for an album with this kind of atmosphere, this kind of vibe, having the bass add that sense of darkness to the sound, I think was killer.
That's so cool, man. Bass and just percussion in general for Spite is such a big deal. We're so rhythm and like just the rhythm section of our band is so important. We prioritize it. So bass being at the forefront is kind of our thing.
Yeah, I think that everyone on the record has like their place almost in every song where they shine in the drums, bass, guitar, vocals. And it's cool that we have that balance between all the members on the record. You know, especially you're talking about those the bass lines and stuff. Like New World Killer has those like such a memorable those bass slides at the end of the breakdown just scratches that itch for you, you know. And then in Shedding Skin you have that super like dark groovy like do 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 do, and it's just fun, man, to just groove out with the bass a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's a lost art, to be honest with you. Like a lot of bands, when they go super heavy, they tend to skip a little bit on the bass sound. Unless you're talking more about like technical death metal bands, those obviously give the bass quite a little bit of a room to shine. But outside of that, I always feel like the bass is a little bit kind of forgotten, and I think it's such a cool element that can add so much texture to the music that you guys are creating, and you guys definitely deliver that on this record. How is the creative roadmap for you guys? Has things changed over the years, or do you still follow what got you here?
No, like over time it's changed. Yes, like I think the writing at first was a combination of me, Darius, and one of our older members, Cody. And he's taken a step back to be with family now. But like for the longest time, up until about Dedication to Flesh, which was our last record, it was kind of a effort between all three of us. Once he left and kind of like took a step back, like I think it kind of just fell in my lap because I was the only one writing at the time. But Dedication to Flesh, particularly, was kind of the opportunity for us to try new things on guitar and like open the door for us and kind of made us realize that Darius is the grouping element for us. Like we can try new things on other instruments and like explore different energies, but Darius is the element that's going to make Spike distinguishable.
They're putting you on a pedestal.
Yeah, I think the writing process for the last two records was similar in a sense where it was me and Alex taking the reins for sure because we were just the primary writers after Cody. And I think that you know, also Alex is the first time the last two records Alex also hopped in on lyric writing with me, so now we both write lyrics for the band. I think that's also opened like the world of Spite and making it more interesting to listen to as well, because he has a different way of wording things. And again, I always say we're cut from the same cloth. You know, we live a very similar life and experience a lot of the same things. And it's cool to have another person also be able to express those things and me be able to channel that energy. And I think that was a big changing moment for Spite too, is that our whole universe expanded that way.
When you go into making a new album, do you always look at ways of where you can challenge yourselves? Not just creating necessarily, I mean, obviously the goal is to create the best album you guys ever released up to that point. But in the back of your mind, do you also are willing to take risks, gambles in order to really push the envelope and not feel like you're always kind of repeating the same formula?
You
Oh, of
know,
course.
go ahead, Alex.
Oh, I was just gonna say I've talked about this with a few people now about like finding that balance between writing for yourself and then keeping the reason why people like you in the first place. And those are both important things just for the longevity of you wanting to play music all together and then keeping your audience. Like I can't neglect the reason why people like us, but challenging yourself and progressing with the band is more difficult, especially as you get to your fifth record. So I'm happy to take on that challenge, but it does get more difficult.
I think with Dedication to Flesh, there was such a direct thing we wanted to accomplish and attack with that album, and there wasn't a lot of wiggle room. It was like, this is how we want it, right? And you know, we're very proud with how that record came out, but we weren't trying to make Dedication to Flesh too. You know, we wanted to really open Spite up and see what would happen, you know, if we worked with another producer, like a real big producer that can give us that insight and see what he thinks rather than just our little bubble, you know. And this is the first time we had a another member really like come in and work on the record with us, like Travis, our drummer. It's the first time someone wrote their own drums for our record. You know, Alex gave him the stencil and he took it and just made his own thing wild with it. And I think this record was a big, I don't want to say experimental. It wasn't experimental, but we were able to have fun and kind of throw things at the wall a little bit and just like try different things that we maybe normally wouldn't have stepped out and done so prior, you know?
Do you think now knowing what you know and taking the knowledge that you've gained of making this album, does that make things easier for you going forward, or the more you grow, the more difficult things become? Because like you guys said, you kind of have to please yourselves, but at the same time, you still have an audience that you have to please as well.
I think, especially after releasing these last two singles, like something I've realized is that you just can't please everyone. It sounds so cliche, but it's so true. And like, I do read comments and I do it like,
Big
from,
mistake, bro. Big mistake.
objectively, like I try not to read it like, you can call me stupid, you could call me ugly, whatever. Sarah music is like bad, but like if you're like straight up lying on the internet, of course I'll jump in and stuff. But like, I kind of like to see the discourse. It kind of just like keeps in mind, like, okay, there are a lot of people that like this stuff, and some of these people are showgoers. The majority of them aren't. So you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to be in check with what's going on in the scene and see what people are saying and that kind of stuff. I don't think it's good to be completely checked out. But yeah, we definitely we like to read the discourse and see what's happening. I think a lot of bands do, and I think a lot of people are lying when they say they don't, you know? um,
Yeah, I think you
but
just have to be grounded in order to be able to do it and be able to filter the noise from the constructive criticism, because there's a lot of noise.
Oh,
oh
absolutely,
yeah.
man. I think what I was going to say is that with Lights Out, like the first single we released, like not only was the day horrible and there was a lot of polarizing things going on that made that video and song kind of like controversial, but it's the style of the song itself. We kind of anticipated a little backlash because that song doesn't sound, on guitar wise at least, doesn't sound like a conventional Spite song from the past. Like it's in a higher guitar tuning, maybe a little slower. But like, I think in the context of the record, for instance, like it holds its place. And that's why I love that song so much. Um, but you have to be prepared for that stuff. Like, and then we released New World Killer right after that, and then everyone freaks out on the internet. It's like, oh wow, this is my new favorite song. But it's like, I think every song has its place, and you can't base your songwriting of what other people are saying.
Yeah, and I think that you just hit the nail on the head there. These tracks individually don't really paint the picture of what the record experience is. You honestly have to listen to them in the album format to really get the most, not just out of their whole record, but to get the most out of the songs. Because you guys did a phenomenal job with the track listing to create such a great experience. Was that a time-consuming chore to put this track list together?
I think me and Alex kind of like from the beginning stage when we were doing all the pre-production before going into the studio with Will, we had our whole demos listed out on a whiteboard, and every day we would check in as we would progress on them and kind of just shift them around because, we do think of like the flow of a live set. We have to think of the flow of the songs. And like sometimes we would add a part in a song and be like, okay, well, now that changes how this song sits in this list. Maybe we should move this here because this flows better into that. Like it almost wasn't, we think about it the whole time, I think, from the beginning stages of making demos up until the end, really. So it kind of happens naturally, but we're always thinking about it.
Yeah, because it feels to me like effort went into it. Because it's not easy when you think about it. That was I already pre-recorded my review of the album, and I started off that review by saying that when you have an album that's short in length, it almost doesn't give you a lot of room to maneuver in terms of you creating peaks and valleys, ebbs and flows throughout. But you guys still found room in such a short packed space to create that flow that I just don't think that happens overnight. Like you really have to spend some time, not just with the record, but with the songs and understand exactly what works and what doesn't. So I saw the work that went into making that track listing, but I also saw how good the final result was.
Hell
That makes me
yeah.
really happy to hear, bro.
Yeah,
I think with Will too, like, of course we see things in a certain way when we're writing the songs and like we chisel away at them and perfect them in every way we can. But then we add Will into the mix and he's giving his outside perspective. And once you add all of his input into it, it just becomes something else and something you almost like better than what you wanted originally. So that was also very awesome.
and you guys also add some elements that I thought was really cool, like to the song, especially vocally, where you have a little bit of some backup vocals here and there, like some layers, which gives also a little bit of a live experience to the way the tracks come across, because I can see people really vibing with it. Uh, and I thought the vocals matched the sound perfectly. Like as dynamic as the sound is, so are the damn vocals. I mean, it's not a one size fits all approach from beginning to end. Regardless of the guest appearances you guys have, the vocals are just impactful throughout, and I love the roller coaster ride that they put us through. Was that a difficult process to bring these two worlds together?
It was a really fun process. I loved working with Will and doing tracking vocals with him. Alex was really present for that whole process too, helping direct me and get the best takes I could as well. Um, I think that that main spite sound is that manic, like yelling kind of tone that I push through. It's kind of in most of it's in most of the discography, but it kind of changes in this one a little bit. Just goes a little bit deeper, a little more side of the mouth, a little bit more, I think, like aggressive in my opinion. And it was really fun to just kind of like fuck around with that. And obviously I love doing the gutturals and I love doing the really like showy stuff and whatnot. But I think that stuff always hits harder and is more impactful when you do it tastefully and you scatter it here and there when it makes sense rather than just littering the whole record with a bunch of like vocals you can't even tell what I'm saying. And I
Yeah,
think everything has its place.
I thought the performance. This is going to sound maybe a little bit crazy, but I thought it was almost unhinged, but not unhinged. If that makes sense. Like you went as far as you could go without crossing the border into being unhinged, and I think that really pushes a different vibe on the album because it takes you like that much closer to that edge, without
Yeah.
necessarily falling over the edge.
I think I mean, Alex and I have a very like dark, sinister way of writing where sometimes we say things that can be a little bit off the wall. And you can hear that in our previous records for sure. And I think this album has that, but Will definitely helped us like dial back just enough, kind of like what you were saying is where it sounds unhinged, but it's still, I think, digestible to
Mhm.
to any metal audience now, where it's not too harsh. You know what I'm saying? But it still sounds like unreal pissed off.
Oh, there's
Will was
definitely
very
anger.
I was just gonna say Will is very adamant about like pronunciation and like making sure you can hear every word very clearly. And that was honestly something I always consider it, but he was extra about it. Like he wanted to make sure every detail of every word was heard. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, because you could have a very brutal record. That doesn't mean you can't make the vocals a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more perceptive, for lack of a better term. Like, then that's why I felt like you pushed that level to the limit, but didn't go over it. And even with the gutturals, I thought the gutturals were really well placed on the record throughout, because you want to create a nice balance and you want to create a nice flow. And if there's one thing that both my son and I, whenever we're checking out a song from a band similar to you guys, that we gripe on, besides sometimes too many breakdowns. Uh, but it's the choice in the vocal approach that doesn't necessarily fit the vibe of the song. More important than fitting the sound is fitting the vibe. And I thought when I look at the lyrics on this record and when I look at the vocal performance, the vocals not only match the intensity of the lyrics, but they match the vibe of the song. And I think that is when you're at your best, in my humble opinion. I'm not a vocalist.
And I think, that comes with us just writing the songs. Like I have my songs on the album and Alex has his. And like I think opening the world to having Alex hop in and also write lyrics, he when he writes a song instrumentally first, sometimes that is just already in his head. And it's like, well, let him do it. You know what I'm saying? He has this story he wants to tell. And it's nice to have someone else doing that. You know what I mean? Where he's everything is very intentional. That makes sense, you know?
You guys definitely are on the ball, let me tell you this. The album drops October 31st. So what's the plans? What's next for you guys?
Shoot. We're about to go on tour this month. Starts at the end of the month with Fit for a King and Make Them Suffer. That goes all the way through December.
That means
Then
I'll
we
be
have
seeing you guys in Toronto.
You better be
That's
there.
right.
Fuck, I'm coming to that show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be there. Shit, we gotta have. I don't drink, but I'll buy you guys a drink.
Oh, bro.
Fuck yeah, man.
Fuck, I'll buy you guys a drink. Yeah, I'm coming to that show. I have it already marked on my calendar. So
Hell yeah, dude.
holy shit, I didn't realize you guys were on that bill.
We have a
Yeah.
crazy, crazy set plan for that tour, so I'm excited for you to see it.
Fuck, I'm now like I was already hyped because Fit for a King, in my opinion, released one of the best metalcore albums of the year, and I told that to the guys when the album came out. And now you guys have this album coming out, which I absolutely love. This record, same bill. Fuck, shit just
Oh,
Yeah,
got
yeah.
man.
better.
Let's see. We have that, our Australian headliner in April next year, and an awesome headliner in the US right after that.
Yeah,
Wow.
we got to do that New World Killer headliner next year, and we have the lineup already confirmed and everything, and it's fucking awesome. So I can't wait for people to
So
see
now that
that.
headliner, are you guys going to go through this some of the same cities? Because I'm hoping you guys come back through Toronto on a headliner. Because
I think it goes through some of Canada too. I think so. Yeah,
because I know for a fact I'm not going to get enough of you guys on this tour. You guys not going to be able to play as much as I want to hear. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping you guys come back around and play a little bit more.
sure, definitely we will. And you know that is kind of like the beauty of how we run our sets is we leave not a lot of talking breathing room in our sets live, and we'll cram as many songs as possible in a short amount of time.
Fuck,
So.
I don't, you guys don't know this, but I've been working out really hard, hitting the gym every day, and I had a goal in mind. My goal was to crowd surf and people not look at me thinking like I'm Free Willy and they just need to get me over that rock thing that Willie jumps over. So you guys might be able to get me out of retirement and get me into that pit, shirtless and all, and do some crowd surfing at this fucking show.
Oh, I
Hey man,
expect to see
I
it.
believe in you.
At least somebody does. I'm glad that you do. I'm glad that you do. So at least I have free healthcare. If something goes wrong, I don't have to worry about that. But I'm really
That's
looking
right.
forward to this show from you guys. I'm super hyped now. I honestly I'm super hyped about the show. Just I have one small advice for you guys is make sure you accept credit card at the merch because nobody carries cash these days,
Of
and people
course.
in Canada spend a lot of money on merch. All right.
Cool. We got
So
Yeah.
you.
I don't want you guys to leave any money on the table. That's basically what I'm telling
Thank
you
you for
right
the
now.
advice.
I don't want you guys to lose any money. I want you guys to make as much as possible on merch. And so bring that square thing that people use, bring whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
Yeah,
yeah. We'll
we've
be
been
ready.
off touring for like a year now, so we're really excited not only to really just get it back out and perform, but like get back to our careers and our lives and for sure. So I appreciate the advice.
fuck man, yeah. I honestly want to see you guys sell a lot of merch. So definitely bring those little machines because people here do
The
buy.
merch spread's cool.
Yeah, and you know what? I
Oh,
hear this
yeah.
from every band touring that Canada, for some reason, people buy a lot of merch. So just come prepared. Looking forward to this, man. I'll see you guys in November in Toronto. Holy fuck, this is going to be great.
Looking
Fuck
forward
yeah,
to it.
man.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Once again, the album drops October 31st on Rise Records. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the description of this video for the pre-order or the order, whatever it is that you want to call it. And I'm also going to put the tour dates. That way, when people are watching us, if they want to know exactly where you guys are playing, they can find out and go pick up some tickets and show up to the show.
I appreciate you,
Incredible.
man.
Thank you.